13 13 32. 10:30 time for 13 13 32. 10:30 time for some red tape busting red tape busting with Shane Bowering. I was going to say, bustering with Shane whatever I was going to say.
It's all good, mate.
It's all good. How are you, Shane?
How are you, Chris?
Pretty good. Now, I've given you some homework from last week about noisy neighbours.
Yes.
How'd you go?
Yeah, absolutely. There's lots of different noise, obviously, that comes from different places. And what I thought we'd go through today is talk about a couple of the things that can happen and where you can go to maybe do something. So the first thing, obviously, is if you've got a party next door. They're up till all hours, yahooing, making a racket. Well, basically, you then ring the police. The police can come out. They can issue them a notice to say, hey, you've got to stop it. If the people then continue after the police have gone, the police can come back and then seize any of the property that's involved in making the noise. So you've got some really good recourse there, So, the best thing, obviously, is to try and do it amiable, try and make sure that, you talk to your neighbour, try and see if you can get them to come to the party.
Reason. Yeah.
That's what you do first. So I would
Not
never...
you go to the party.
Well, you could go to the party and join in. You could do that. But, it's not really about just going straight to the police. Try and do the good thing, the neighbourly thing. But if you don't get the result you're after, and you've been fair and reasonable, so, then you've got the opportunity of going to the police. So that's about the noisy neighbours. Then if you've got a barking dog that you're really unhappy with, and I've got a dog that I actually own that can be a bit of a barker, and the owner's got to take responsibility for trying to mitigate the barking. Again, go to the neighbour, explain, try and be reasonable about, can you do something with your dog? But if it just continues and there's no response from the neighbour, then you go to council. Council can come out and issue a noise abatement notice, and therefore then the owner has to comply, and that might be like me, where we've had to put a barking collar on our guy when we go out, because that's his nature, is to he's there to look after the flock without any shepherds. He's an Italian sheepdog, but the barking collar is really fine-tuned him so that he knows now I better not bark. So it's up to the neighbour. So the council's responsible there. When it comes to hoons and things like that, where people are going up and down the street, burnouts, loud vehicles, there's a couple. You can go to police, obviously, and you can also go to council about maybe mitigating the street, about putting in some traffic calming as well. And then also, obviously, Department of Transport's involved there, where if the vehicle is too noisy, they can put the vehicle off the road to get it modified back to how it's supposed to be. And then I think there was the issue with you with maybe the club, or that was not...
we got the club a couple of doors down, and it's not about the loud noise, because it's not that loud, but it's the grating noise of, whatever it might be, the screaming, yelling, which is an excuse for music.
Yep, absolutely. And there's a couple of areas there. One, you can go to council, obviously, because council's got a responsibility for, the operations in the area. You can also go to liquor licensing division. So, gaming, liquor licensing, they're responsible for the management of clubs and for things like that. So there's a two-pronged attack that I'd be taking there.
Would you approach the club itself?
Absolutely. Again, always try and do this in a nice, courteous, responsible way. Try and go to the people, suggest this is the problem. Try and also come up with a possible solution that might be fair to them and to you. Don't try and just be all about you, that it's got to be you, it's got to be fixed for you. They've got to amend their ways, because, you've got to live together in a nice way, and they're going to be there forever pretty much while you're there, so you've got to get on. So, yes, go to the club first.
A neighbour of ours went around and got a petition for people to sign to say, look, we don't like that type of music. Would that be a good
good idea
method as well?
People power is very powerful. So you do that. You might also go to your local councillor to try and get them on board, to get maybe council to be more proactive. So there's a number of different avenues you can get, the ways you can go. But the key thing is to be appropriate, be respectful, and try and get the people to enter into a nice, courteous discussion where you can both understand each other's viewpoint and you can both come to a resolution.
Look, I understand that, a club like a bowls club is trying to get some extra dollars through the door and things like that. Would it be appropriate for me to say, look, even if you emailed us and let us know that this band is on then, and they're a screech band,
thrash
that
band,
we might be able to go out
Yep.
for the night, have dinner, and come home, and then we only have to put up for it for an hour or two.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely. And again, that's a good outcome where it might not be the best for you. It might not be the best for them because they have to email people out, but it works for both parties. So that's the good way to try and go about things.
13 13 32 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on Red Tape Busting with Shane Bowering, or you can SMS on 0427 13 13 32. You're looking at home renovations, and you've had an ongoing dispute that you've had a bit of success with.
Yeah, we have an ongoing dispute, and it's one of those things where it's very difficult, and council have got a number of requirements that they've got to have. And, it's where you've got to comply with their requirements. But, council also have to do a bit of give and take as well. And it's a situation that, that we've been working on for a long time. I think we're getting close to the end now where, it's going to be all resolved. But, the keys there are really to make sure that you understand what council's requirements are. And if you get building renovations done, my strong suggestion is that you get them approved early. As soon as they're done, get them tied away, put the paperwork through council so that then you've got it all. It's all done and dusted. They're not going to come back in 10 years' time or when you try to sell your property and you've got difficulties. So try and get it all squared away straight away.
And Michelle joins us on the line, and she's got a story she'd like to discuss. Good, Michelle?
G'day, Michelle. How are you?
Good, thank you. Hi, Shane. I've got an update on how we are going with our council final approval.
That's very opportune. So where are we at now?
Just last week. It's all signed off.
So it's all done?
All done, yes.
Fantastic. And
after 5 months of hard work.
I know, it's been a long time, hasn't it? And it's been very frustrating. And, council have been good in, this is Ipswich City Council. Mm-hmm. And what happened with Michelle was, if listeners remember, the floods came through. That took away all the paperwork. She hadn't had the building certification done and the renovations approved. The floods came away and took away all the paperwork, and so she had nothing. So I've been trying to help her now over the last 5 or 6 months to try and get this through. And Michelle, it's been very frustrating, hasn't it been? Because the council rules and regulations seem to change all the time, and I'm sure you've been frustrated just as much as I've been.
Yeah, especially when you get the first one come in.
Yes.
And then you do what he wants done.
Yes.
You do that. A different one comes in and points out different things, so you're back to square one.
Yep, and that's exactly what happened with Michelle. The first inspector came and inspected the building.
The work that had been done,
and said, look, you need to do this, and this. You need to have this paperwork. So I worked with Michelle and worked with council, and as I said, council were pretty good, especially in the early stages, and Paul Pasali was great about saying, okay, well, we might be able to do without that, but we need this. So we followed council processes, and then it came to the end where we were doing basically the final inspection, and council then came back with some new change requirements, and one of the requirements was she had to trim the deck back by 5 mils. Michelle, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
5 mils.
5 mils.
5 mils is how would you even have a tape that would measure 5 mils?
It's not even a fingernail.
The front of the deck had to be trimmed back, and to me, once you've given someone a list of saying, hey, these are all the things you need to do, then to come back at the end and say, hey, we need that deck changed by 5 mils, that just, my head almost exploded out of, as I was reading this nonsense, and I wrote a very terse comment back to council and back to the mayor about what nonsense is this, we've gone through a process, and what had happened was the original inspector had gone away, he's on holidays, he's sick or whatever, there's a new guy in. So as I said to council, what then happens in the meantime if this guy who's just come out then is sick or goes on holidays and we get another new guy in and he comes up with something else? It's a nonsense, and this is where council, there's two issues. I understand there's a safety issue.
Yep.
But you can't tell me, nobody can convince me, no building person, and I'm not a builder at all, you can't convince me that 5 mils is a massive safety issue on the front of a deck. And when in an issue like this where council have tried to help and it's been on for BC many times, why wouldn't you have just said, hey, we'll pass it, make sure you just trim that deck up, You do that somewhere down the track, rather than hold it all up. So, Michelle, I'm really glad that, I've been able to help you over this long period of time. It has been a huge process, but look, it's great for you now that you can move on with your life.
Yes, it's really good. It's a big relief.
And it has, and I know you've been really stressed about it.
Yes.
And I'm glad that I've been able to help you. And at the end of the day, we've got there. It's been painful for me as well.
Yeah.
But we've got there.
And it's been really good that I had someone I could turn to, like Shane, and get a bit of advice.
It's been my pleasure, Michelle.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for the call.
That's okay. Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Michelle.
Bye.
Can I just ask there, did you have to get rid of the 5 mil off the deck?
Yeah.
Or did they
absolutely.
turn a blind eye to it?
No, had to. They, as I said, they changed the requirements at the last minute after we'd gone through everything, and that was one of the key, the last key issues was you have to get rid of 5 mil off the deck.
Well, surely, if you've gone through the first inspector and he's got a list of X, Y, Z, and you've done X, Y, Z, then it just gets ticked off and we go away.
That's what I would have assumed. Yeah. Absolutely. But then council have come back, because I was very terse, and said, well, why have we now got change requirements? And they come back with the old thing of, well, another inspector sees it a little bit differently, and he picked up the things that the first inspector missed.
Well, that's their mistake.
That's my view.
In the end?
Absolutely. And if it was a major safety issue, I'd agree totally.
Absolutely.
No
and
problems.
You would have no problem doing that.
Yep.
Any right-minded person, if it's a huge safety issue, it'll be done.
Yep,
we'll do it. Gail joins us as well. She's got a story. Good morning, Gail.
Good morning, how are you?
Very
G'day,
well.
Gail. How are you?
Well, I've had 3 people out with 3 different ideas, and the last one, we had to move our gate latch 2 millimetres.
Oh, seriously?
How is that a major safety issue?
That's what I mean. It's just a G up.
It's just beyond a joke.
It is. And what council is this, Gail? You can say.
Close to Brisbane?
Yes.
Okay, we can work with that.
Yeah.
We can work with that. So
how frustrated were you when that came through?
Well, I just stood there and laughed. And also we had bougainvilleas growing up. And, so, it's just everything gets... everyone's got a different opinion.
So you had 3 different inspectors, and 3 different inspectors have said 3 different things.
Yep.
Wow.
And it takes me back, and look, as an ex-public servant, I've seen lots of strange and wonderful things, but it takes me back to the days in the public service where we were totally focused on quality assurance, and you had to have your businesses had to be certified, and I was an auditor at those times in the government. And auditors could go out and basically, check your paperwork, and you didn't have your I dotted and your T crossed, so I'm going to fail you. And other auditors like me would go, well, hey, I really don't care. That's pretty good. You're pretty damn close. That's all good. It's the same thing. People go in and put their own interpretation on, and instead of being customer focused and trying to go, well, hey, look, that isn't a major issue. Let's just 2 mil for a gate latch. Let's just let it go. People can be really pedantic because... Baby, they want to be the pseudo police officer. They want to
power.
It's power. And look, in the public service, I always have a view. The public servants these days seem to want to find ways to say no, rather than trying to find the way. How can I say yes? And that seems to be the impediment. They all trying to say why can't we do it, rather than working with us to say how can we do it. And that 2 mil, that's just a classic example.
Well, look, to me, if it was a major part of a piston, that 2 mil makes a huge difference, and the whole engine could blow up because of it.
Yep.
Sure, this is 2 mil on a gate. 2 mil. It's not 2 metres, 2 centimetres.
Yep.
It's 2 millimetres.
And Gail, if you're still there, was that gate hinge? Was it in relation to a pool fence or just in a standard fence?
Oh, it was in a pool fence, but as the guy pointed out, and justifiably so, if someone comes out after him and picks something else up and reports that it wasn't picked up, he can lose his licence.
But the thing is that where there's tolerances, even with tape measures, there's got to be a tolerance as to how accurate they are.
Yeah.
2 mil is getting down to over a gather a 1.8 or 1.6 type of fence. 2 mils is a minor deviation, and
I mean, he was really good about it. We just accepted that it's just
And did it?
Crazy sometimes.
It's the three inspectors with the three different interpretations that's the issue, though, not the 2 mil necessarily, even though that's silly. The three inspectors, they got to get it better. They got to get it right.
Yeah. Okay. Have a good day.
Thanks, Gail.
Thanks, Gail.
For bringing that to our attention. They've got to compare notes. Surely one goes back. It'd be like 3 different investigating officers
Yep.
in a police drama coming up with 3 different versions or
That's
3
right.
different
Yep.
charges. Like, where are we going here? If you are an inspector, surely you have a set guidelines.
Yes. Yep.
And if you come back and Shane passes it on to Chris and he passes it on to Murray,
Yes.
and we get it right.
I agree totally, and especially with Michelle's issue, because it had been raised in the media. When I was a public servant, there would have been a notation passed to the next inspector saying, hey, be really careful about this. This is already in the media. We need to do something to help this lady. So it would have gone down the chain. That obviously never happened. Ridiculous.
13 13 32 if you need something that requires red tape busting with Shane Bowering. And we are red tape busting. Oh, you missed it, folks. Radio is beautiful because you can't see what's happening, and Murray has just given me the worst cue I've ever seen. He almost poked my eye out so that I wouldn't jump in early.
You said to point. I'm pointing.
Oh, the number to call, 13 13 32 if you want some red tape busting with Shane Bowering. And Beverly does. Good morning, Beverly.
Oh, look, I don't need it anymore. We were talking about the Hitler attitude of some of the public servants.
Yes.
Several years ago, we had a rural service station, come shop, come post office, come news agency, etc.
Yep.
We had 27 licenses for that, by the way.
27 licenses.
To run our business. And at one stage, we were selling bulk laundry powders and laundry soaps. We used to dispense it into 2-litre milk bottles. We were fined for that and had to pay $80 for proper equipment because the 2-litre milk bottle is not a recognised measure.
Isn't it?
Really.
You know, and look, you know, you probably had a license for the license, didn't you, or one of the licenses? So, you know.
We didn't have to pay for the milk licence, by the way, but we did have to have one.
Oh my goodness.
Beverly, I hope they weren't annual licenses because you would have had to every
fees.
second week fees and filling out forms.
To renew.
Some of them were beauties, yes.
Where would we be without government and councils? Hey, wouldn't it be such wouldn't it be a boring world?
Thanks, Beverly.
Okay, bye.
Thanks very much.
We wouldn't have these things to talk about.
That's right.
Oh goodness.
Kathy, you've got a suggestion other than one that I could think of, but wouldn't be appropriate. But anyway.
I really like my suggestion. Why don't
No. Yours is good. Mine's no good. I've got one that
why don't
involves a lump of 4B2 at times.
Yes.
But anyway.
Oh, well, there you go. That too. But why don't 2 inspectors come and then they can play good cop, bad cop,
Oh,
and you get an answer.
oh, jeez.
They can go back to the office and fight about it back there.
And compare notes.
And then you get an answer.
You could do that, but then what happens if those two are away or something? Then we need another two.
Of course.
Oh goodness! You know what it's like. As I said, look, you know, 18 years in the public service, and the things that I used to see were just scandalous, and I'd just be horrified, like, you know. But you know, look, you know, as I said, we do need rules and regulations, and they have to be there. And look, you know, I'm the first one to agree with that, or else we got anarchy. But at the end of the day, all we need is some reasonable interpretation of those. And as I said, we need public servants to be looking to try and say, how can I work with you to get this through, rather than how can I work against you to stop you from doing whatever you want to do.
It's a basic business principle.
Yeah, it is, and it comes back to public servants realising that us as taxpayers, us as ratepayers, are their customer, and they need to work for us, their customer, rather than working for the government to basically stop us from doing something.
Thanks for the call, Kathy. We appreciate your time. 13 13 32 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here at News Talk 4BC. Interesting that the man in charge of Queensland's finances, right, has had to pay back thousands of dollars to the government after running up a huge overseas phone bill and even charging a massage to taxpayers. Now, this comes in the face of Tim Nichols, who I think is a decent enough bloke, telling us we need austerity measures. We have a blowout because of the previous government. We all need to tighten the belt. We all need to find efficiencies. We need to sack public servants. Yet we have $3,500 having to be paid back. But he tried to get away with it, which is the worst bit.
And that's, I understand the rules might be somewhat complex, but you cannot tell me that there's any doubt about whether a massage is to be paid for by the taxpayer or not. Seriously, and we just keep going over and over with what our politicians are doing, not doing, and I just think it's a disgrace. I really do.
Look, an overseas phone bill for personal calls is a bit of a grey area, because surely when you're overseas, you're entitled to call the family, let them know how you're going,
and look,
and
that
have a
could
discussion.
slip through.
Absolutely.
You could go, hey,
I can cop an overseas phone bill.
You thought that was legitimate, and you thought it was for business, and that's absolute. There's no problems with that. But when you're billing up a massage, I don't care what that massage was for.
Well, it was only $59, but still, it's the principle. We're on the same wavelength.
Of course we are,
It is the
principle. It's the principle of the matter that what they need to be thinking is, would the taxpayer think this was realistic? Would they believe that they should pay for this? And if they don't believe that, well, it doesn't matter what the rules say. You just don't claim it. That's how it is. I don't get it. I still have a belief that I believe all politicians should have up on their website, on their electoral website, all of their expenses as they're logged, as they go into to finance in the system, logged on their website so that we can click on and see what they're claiming. And I'm telling you now, if that was to happen, that would keep them accountable, because there is no way they'd put a massage up on that website.
So
way.
Itemise every dime that you spend.
Absolutely. And it's on their website. It's back in the background, in a page in the background where they itemise exactly what they've spent. We, as the ratepayers and taxpayers, then can get on and scrutinise. I'm telling you now, that would cut out all of this nonsense, because they would be so scared of putting up a massage up on there.
It wouldn't go there.
That's what I mean. So then they would only be claiming what they were supposed to claim, because they wouldn't put up anything that they weren't supposed to.
And I don't think that's such a strange suggestion.
Well, I think it's a great suggestion, because it cuts it out. It holds them accountable, because it's transparent. Everybody can see what they're being paid for, and they have to have receipts. The other thing that gets me is there's all these allowances and stuff that goes on. They don't have to have receipts for it. They can just say, oh, well, I spent this on, newspapers or whatever. Make them be accountable. If we as taxpayers, and the taxman wants us to be accountable with my business, politicians have to be accountable as well.
Shane, thanks again for joining us. If anybody needs some red tape busting, how can they contact you?
www.redtapebusters.com, and we'll have fact sheets up again on the website as well.
Fantastic. Look forward to catching up with you again next week.
Good, mate. It's been a laugh today.
The 4BC